Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. Yeah, welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast. Nick is on the other side of the mic. Andrew is not. Andrew is training to be a YouTube moderation specialist because apparently they need a lot of help right now. Our last stream got nuked from YouTube a record 4.5 minutes in because we violated YouTube's firearms policy by displaying firearms that you can plainly see all around us outside of a controlled area / gun range.
I mean, there's a hacksaw handle behind me.
I've got a box of shotgun shells back there. Apparently, that's it. I don't know. My theory is our discussions about extracurricular activities involving buckets of water and restrained subjects might have been a little spicy and hurt somebody's feelings, and they just pushed the ban button and selected a random reason. Who knows? I don't know.
Could be the discussion of diesel fuel. You know how the environmentalists feel about diesel.
I don't know anything about environmentalists other than the fact that every time I drive by one, it makes me want to push my gas pedal down harder.
Good.
So, yeah, that happened. For those of you who usually watch this on YouTube, this is a good excuse. This is a good reason to remind y'all that we also stream on Facebook, which is also pretty screwy, but also on Rumble.
We did go down on there, too.
But also on Rumble. And Rumble's been okay. I can talk about pretty spicy stuff and Rumble doesn't pitch a hissy fit. The only downside of Rumble is Rumble has not finished their API yet, so that when people comment during the stream on Rumble, we don't see those comments. That only works for Facebook, YouTube so far, which is frustrating, but we'll do what we can do.
You know what we might be able to do? We might be able to throw Signal on one and or both of our PCs so that the patrons can harass us mid-show.
I mean, the patrons can harass us mid-show regardless because we are innocent.
Yeah, but my phone is silenced when we're recording, so I don't know about the harassment until afterwards.
True, but the frustrating part of it is our patrons, as much as I love and adore them, they're usually talking while we're streaming, but they're not talking to us. They're just talking to each other, which I guess that could be part of that's probably because we've worked to build a nice little cadre community of very like-minded people, and they actually enjoy talking to each other.
They do,
or harassing each other. Sometimes there's some bullying. The things happen.
Bullying is good for you if well applied.
Yes, and it is well and judiciously applied by that group frequently. One of those bullies is our merch provider. So to that family who shall remain nameless until they want to come on the show and out themselves as weirdos that follow this weird little podcast, I'm glad they provide the merch. And if y'all would like the merch, there's links in the show description. Cypress Survivalists, that link is also in the show description. Our nonprofit is running our next event June 14th. The URL is www.cypresssurvivalist. That has 3 S's in a row. Don't miss one of them or you won't find us. Or just Google Cypress space Survivalist. And we're the very first thing that pops up in Google. But it's cypresssurvivalist.org. And all the information you need about the Lunch and Learn on June 14th shall be there. Nice. Admin work done. Now, I was up.
Now for the fun part.
I was up very, very late last night because earlier in the week I had attempted to snatch a satellite pass from NOAA 19 and boogered it up pretty badly because I got my timing off. And at the moment I walked out there with my laptop and all my nerd crap, the satellite had already passed me and was over the North Pole. So
not conducive to reaching it from New Orleans,
no,
believe it or not.
And when you consider the fact that they're 22,000 miles up in the air and they literally traverse the entire span of the Earth from North Pole to South Pole fairly quickly, you kind of only get one bite at the apple. But last night, after we streamed, I got it. I managed to catch it. I was sitting out there smoking a cigar 15 minutes early. And the result of all that was...
That's a nice waterfall there.
Yeah. I got I would say a near perfect hit on NOAA 19. Great signal strength, very, very strong. Had a great waterfall, had a great signal that y'all can't hear because, audio and technical difficulties. I was running, let's see here. I was actually, what you could see on the right side of that screen was Orbitron, which is another program I use to like watch where the satellite is in its orbit. So I was really watching the satellite while recording so I could try to get an idea of like, where is it? How close is it? How good is the pass? And this weird little mismatch of software and hardware I put together, not anything I invented, standing on the shoulders of others that have done it before me, came together really nicely. And I got pretty surprisingly nice images from NOAA 19. So one of the things that's worth pointing out about the NOAA satellites, 15, 18, and 19, when you start talking about trying to like receive these data packets, which are images from these satellites, is what you're pulling down is multiple layers of images at the same time. You got visual, you have IR, you're looking at the humidity in the air, you're looking at weather events, you're looking at all sorts of different types of images. And that was the end result, which
that's pretty cool.
On the right side is your visible elements, which I was kind of surprised just how nice that looked.
I mean, look at the reef sections north of Cuba. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And then on the left side of the screen, you're literally looking at a weather event that was coming across like North Texas, North Louisiana yesterday evening. And this was in real time. So this was like 10:15, 10:20 last night. And the whole reason that I went down this road, because we've talked about software-defined radio on the show before. And when I started down this road, it really was an effort to use it like an information gathering tool. That's why I've really focused hard on can I listen to like trunked radio systems in the area if there's public access or public emergencies going on? Can I pull down ADSB information so I can look for aircraft that are flying around me? And now looking at this, it's all just kind of an extension of this idea that like that information is out there because the radio waves are wide open when they're not encrypted. And I want to know what information I can pull down and make use of that doesn't involve me staring into the doom screen, logging on to NOAA, logging on to a website, or going through a third party that I don't have control over in order to be able to access that information. This came off of a very old, very, very abused laptop and a $35 like USB dongle and an antenna that's a pair of rabbit ears. The technology required to do this was very, very minimal. And I would say like the hardest part is just it's the nerd stuff, It's like tweaking settings and chasing things and reading guides and
dealing with the back end of the software a little bit.
Yeah, but this was the end result. I mean, I would say
that's pretty worthwhile.
I would say that if you were in a situation where say your internet access was cut or a prolonged grid down situation where you just kind of need to be abreast of what's going on with the weather, this might be a really good option, because if it looks that good, not that I'm looking forward to having to use it this way, but the next time we have like a hurricane coming towards Gulf Coast, I might fire this back up just to see what those images look like. How useful are they? I mean, it's good enough for NOAA. It's got to be good enough for us.
Well, the only thing I think you're going to be missing there is some of the ground temperature data and wind speed and direction data.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you're not a meteorologist anyway. So what you're looking for is like yesterday to today's picture to look at the storm track and do your best guess.
Mm-hmm. And actually going down that road. So one thing worth pointing out is like these NOAA satellites being polar orbiting, they pass, you get a pass on any one of these satellites about twice a day, about 12 hours apart. Nice. Figure, isn't that interesting how that works? So like if you were focused on this because you had nothing better to do other than watch the weather, you could catch both of those passes and have an AM pass and a PM pass, and an AM pass and a PM pass, and start overlay or interlacing those images together so you could literally use it for storm tracking. Or you could just use it as a snapshot to say, hey, I don't, internet's out, or the local cell towers are out. I can't get to my usual weather sources. AM radio is only so good. I want to look and see what the weather is doing over the horizon. And this will give that to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, it absolutely will. You know, I know you said when we were talking about this earlier that these satellites are not going to continue to be maintained long term. What kind of timeline did you hear about that?
So what I heard was that, and I think the period where they're going to stop maintaining it has passed.
Okay.
At least at current, NOAA has no intention of like decommissioning these satellites in the way of like taking them down out of the air or like giving them, destroy commands or anything. They're just
Yeah.
going to stop babysitting them. So sooner or later,
Okay.
something's going to break and they're not going to fix it.
Right.
And part of that is also because like these NOAA satellites, like the oldest ones, I mean, they're ancient. There's a reason. There's a good reason why they're not going to maintain them anymore, and they have been.
Yeah, the technology's come quite a long way.
And they have superseded them with much newer, much more modern, much higher quality, much higher resolution, much better stuff. That unfortunately I do not currently have the technology in my hands to be able to interface with them, but it's not that big of a lift. So the next thing I might be fooling with, well, but in all honesty, so the software defined radio program that I have, SDR Sharp, is perfectly capable of tuning to L-band frequencies, which is like 1.7 gigahertz.
Right.
The SDR I have,
It's just your antenna technology that's limited, right?
yes. So I would have to trade. I would have to trade the the lazy little rabbit ears I have, like off your grandmother's television set. That's not going to work for L-band. I would need a dedicated L-band antenna. I would honestly need a small dish. I would need an LNA, low noise amplifier, to be able to not just boost that signal, but also obscure any nearby frequencies away from the feed. Like
Right.
it's doable, depending on what level of DIY
Okay.
I'm willing to suffer from. Like few $100 down to maybe like under 100.
Okay.
But it's doable to build a small L-band dish and to add that LNA to it. And then once I have those two things, I've already got the software I need to record the data packet and the SDR to tune the antenna. The only thing I'd be missing, actually, no, come think of it, the same program I use to get all these images, SatDump, it has the decoding profiles already in it for the GOES satellites and a few others.
Interesting.
So you're talking about an antenna. I mean, it would be manually aimed. It would not be like one of these nice, cool little self-tracking ones. But I mean, the next hurdle to get into to go further down this road is L-band satellite, and that would give me access to far more satellites that are far higher quality. That would provide me more information, and also because the bandwidth is so much different. Instead of VHF, we're going into the microwave range.
Right.
I also have the ability to get at some more of that data that you just mentioned that is just simply not within the purview of a 40 plus year old satellite.
Right, because there's not enough room just to stuff that data.
Yeah, here's the thing of it: the three NOAA satellites I can still get at that I got at the other night. They also have L-band on them. They simulcast L-band and VHF. So the L-band, from what I've been told from other people, the L-band is not necessary. It's a little bit higher resolution out of those satellites, but at a certain point, your problem is not the 1970s APT data transmission protocol. The problem is the actual instrumentation on the satellite itself.
Yeah, you're going to run into a limitation somewhere eventually.
But once you get into L-band, you have a lot more satellites up there you can play with and get imagery out of. So I don't know. I mean,
well, it seems like to me, like at the very least for the near term, this will be usable for you.
In the near term, I would even say like the immediate, the right here, right now, that is perfectly usable. And I'm very happy to continue fooling with it while I look at the feasibility of doing what I need to do to be able to play around with L-band signals. I don't know if I would make the next jump, which is S-band, because once you get into S-band, you're talking about a whole nother set of dishes, a whole nother set of LNAs, And then you're also talking about the fact that I'd have to dump my SDR dongle because it won't tune in S-band. It doesn't go high enough.
Oh, okay.
So it's just one of those things where it's like, every hurdle is another hurdle. I was pretty impressed. I was able to get this one this good on the first try. But this is, when you start talking about like playing around with satellites and SDR, this is kind of entry level. This is where you start because the barrier is so low.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it allows you to learn the software. It allows you to get your feet in the door with just a very minimal investment. I think you're talking less than $100, right? Because like 35 for the dongle, a few bucks for the antenna.
So I bought the package, which was like $45 for the antennas and the dongle.
So even more affordable.
And the only other thing I needed was a laptop that honestly you could have gotten out of a trash bin.
I would imagine a Raspberry Pi, one of those mini computers, would probably work as well.
They work okay for just like recording the data. Okay. But most of the people I've seen that have gone that route, they still offload the data, the WAV file, because you're recording it. You're recording the audio, but they offload that WAV file,
and then you have to analyze that, and that's what takes the processing.
The decoding does kind of eat some processing power. But in my case, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the laptop I use for a lot of this stuff. It is old. Oh, dude, it's like a it's like a mid 2000s HP. Like, I bought it, dude. I bought the thing used.
I mean, it was good when you bought it.
I bought it used, reconditioned. It was like one of those things where like a place goes out of business and they sell off all their technology for pennies on the dollar, and
those are a good buy sometimes.
I think I've got like $150 in that laptop. It's got eight gigs of RAM, 500 gigs of hard drive space. It's old and it's not the fastest thing on earth.
But it works.
But it'll run these streams. It'll let me do, audio editing. It lets me play around with SDR. It does lots of stuff. It's not a multimedia gaming machine, and I don't care. No. Not for that amount of money.
Well, it's not its purpose.
Honestly, the funny part of this is that the cost of that laptop doubled when the battery and the power supply died, and I had to replace those.
I bet. Those batteries are not cheap.
Yeah. I mean, I got a couple years out of the first one, but it very obviously went bad. And I had to go searching the internet like, okay, where do I find a battery for a 15-year-old laptop?
Yeah, that can be the hard part. A lot of times you can get lucky and just run them off AC power, just plugged into the wall, but that's not its purpose.
No.
And it's not efficient. And some of them won't even do that without a battery in them anymore.
This one will, but it was very unhappy about it. And a laptop that is tied to a wall is just a tiny, unseemly little desktop, which
it is just a really bad desktop.
Yeah. So anyway, all that said and done, my first foray into SDR was more successful than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting a lot more snow and a lot more just crap than what I got out of it the first time. I'm pretty impressed.
I would imagine cloud cover is going to have some impact on that. Because like if you're sitting under a hurricane, even if you were to go outside, you're probably going to have some crap signal. Because hell, my parents had satellite TV and satellite internet for a minute when I was growing up. And there were times where dense enough clouds, you couldn't do anything.
And that is kind of the interesting part of this is that I got the Hail Mary pass last night. The satellite went literally directly over my house. Not glancing at an angle, just right over the top of the house. So I had the perfect condition there. It was a near cloudless night. It was perfect. Like, you couldn't ask for any better to run that experiment than that.
Fantastic.
Now, speaking of asking for things, House reconciliation bill fails.
The disappointment.
I am here for it. I like you and I were talking about before we started talking, like, I am under no illusions that the absolute indignation from the Second Amendment community is what pushed the House reconciliation bill to fail. But I don't know, man. Like, I want to be optimistic, but I'm just not an optimist by my nature. But I'm not going to lie. I would love to see any congressperson who voted yes for this freaking thing without the Hearing Protection Act or the Short Act, like, flogged in public.
I think the real reason why this didn't pass is because a shutdown looks bad for the party that's in control.
Yeah.
to a certain percentage of the public. And I think there are quite a few people, I don't think this is a radical statement, in Congress who are not a fan of Trump.
No,
And I
that
think
might be a critical understatement, to be perfectly honest.
Right. And I'm sure that the idea is, we're going to make him look bad every opportunity we can up until the midterms, so we can take back as many seats as possible. I get it. It's politics. That's what they're going to do. But Jesus fuck, I mean, come on. Why are suppressors such a problem? All they do is prevent hearing damage. They're still loud as a firecracker. I mean, my God.
I personally have just never gotten over this idea that, like, my ideas on the Second Amendment are possibly still controversial, but are not unknown. But I tend to think that the words "shall not be infringed" are the most amazingly clear, instructive, self-descriptive language in the entire Constitution of the United States of America. And the fact that we continue to have this argument about that's not a firearm, so we can regulate it, and we're not regulating it, we're just taxing it, and we're not taking it away from you, we're just saying you can't have this one, that will always aggravate the shit out of me. Like, why do we have to have this debate over and over and over since I was a freaking child? Like, sometimes I get really frustrated. I think to myself, I'm like, Jesus Christ, can enough of, like, the boomers and the Gen Xers just shuffle off this mortal coil so that the millennials and the Gen Zs who seem to understand the situation a little bit better can finally be in power and force this issue through and say, stop fooling with our guns, leave it alone. You're not allowed to.
I don't think that we will ever get the kind of firearms regulation that you and I want, which is none.
Well, to be fair,
simply because
I will never be able to buy an RPG out of a vending machine, so I've already given that up. I'm not asking for a lot, though.
Oh, I'm asking for RPGs out of vending machines.
No.
I want to see the crazy multimillionaire makes a super yacht with bigger guns than the Yamato. Why? Fucking cool. That's why.
I would really.
And why should they not?
I would really, really get a chuckle out of turning my Toyota into a technical.
Right? I mean, it's a Toyota. It's kind of required at this point if you live anywhere remotely sandy.
And the best part of it is that I live in an open carry state.
You do.
I could drive around with a 50 cal in the back of my Tacoma. That would be pretty cool.
Granted, you're going to have to watch out for like low-hanging power lines and stuff, but that's the same as a ladder rack, so you might as well be. You'd probably be all right.
It'd be fine.
But no, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of movement from anything positive or negative in Congress right now, because it's just going to be obstructionism after obstructionism up until the midterms. Nothing's really going to be accomplished, but it seems to be the way the system is designed to function at this point.
You mean the way the system is designed to dysfunction?
Correct. I mean, if it's the intention of how it's working, then that's the design.
I mean, how many times have you heard me say sometimes that thing that looks like a flaw is actually a feature? Mm-hmm. Congress getting nothing done and continuing to be reelected is not a flaw. It's a feature to them, at least.
Yeah, they've been doing it on purpose for an awful long time.
Yeah. So, the purpose.
Speaking of why this is not a live stream episode.
Usually I'm really good about slipping in at the very beginning, but, I failed. The topic of the show is on the road again, because the reason we're not talking to you live and in living color on our usual Thursday evening is because come Thursday, I won't be here. I will be at our alternate work site in North Louisiana. And I initially was willing to try. I'm actually still going to bring my personal laptop and that stuff just to play around with SDR crap. And if I just feel the urge to do some, social media stuff, or if I want to throw some old Patreon episodes onto the Patreon feed, if I decide I want to do anything, it'd be nice to have that stuff with me to do the work.
It would.
But mostly, I started to get a little concerned about whether or not I was going to be able to schedule and live and die by a 7:30 showtime on Thursday night, because there is some small chance that we might be coming home Thursday. I don't know.
Oh.
Totally up in the air. There's an equal chance we might stay through Thursday and come home Friday morning. There's every chance that I might wind up with like unscheduled testing tasks that last later into the evening Thursday than we planned, even though that'd be unlikely. There's probably the best opportunity or probably the best chance of snafu is honestly that I'm in a weird place at work where I do my absolute best to like fly under the radar and stay at my desk and stay in my lane. And I really don't want the executives to know who the hell I am. But over the years, I have opened my big freaking mouth way too many times, and I've proven that I'm really, really good at figuring things out too many times. So now the head of my agency knows me by first name basis. And so does the deputy. And so do most of the other executives. And so do the senior leaders for most of the divisions.
Congratulations on your failure.
Yes, my attempt to hide was an unmitigated failure. And it probably doesn't help that, like, you know, in my office.
Should have wore the cat ears.
Well, that I don't think it would have helped much. But the other problem is, like,
they definitely wouldn't have called on you to speak in public.
No, but the other problem is I'm memorable. You know, like when you work in a white collar office and you have a beard halfway down your daggum chest and you're almost 6 feet tall and you're kind of loud, like I stand out like a sore thumb in that office and I'm very easy to remember. So I've become memorable. Oops. So I'm probably going to wind up having to do some hobnobbing and go to dinner with all these people the last night we're there, because to say no, fuck off, I have to go do a podcast would be construed as rude. And I don't know. It's one of those situations where like my innate desire to be a hermit is being trumped by social expectations, of which my wife told me, no, Phil, you really need to go and make an appearance if you get invited. And I was like, thanks, honey.
You do. You know, especially if you would really like to see them push forward those stop the bleed courses or improving the first aid capacities or the disaster response in your office. Being on a first name basis with the head honchos are usually a good way to get started on that.
Yeah. Well, for me, it just more comes down to like, you know, I've spent 12 years at this place just absolutely grinding my daggum molars about lack of technology, lack of progress, 1990s business processes, and all the other crap that I've vent about frequently. And every once in a blue moon, something shakes up and I get an opportunity to push things in a positive direction. And that has always come about because I'm known. Because people know my skill set. They know what I'm about. I'm an open freaking book at that place. But they also know that like, oh, we want to do something that's automated, or we want to do something that like uses like, you know, off the shelf applications technology that are outside of our organization right now. Whenever people happen upon certain topics, they usually come find me because they know I know.
Yeah.
And
and unfortunately, that puts you in a position of societal expectations.
Unfortunately. But, you know, the end result of all that is that I get to take care of my family, so I guess I'll continue to tolerate it. But as it applies to this little exercise, I have to drive 340 miles away from home and stay there for a week, which is not like, you know, the end of the freaking world. I mean, most families deal with something similar to this from time to time. It's a thing. But it's one of those moments where I get in my head because I start thinking about, I'm like, okay, I am not driving 340 miles away from home barehanded and, you know, without some party favors, some extracurricular type activities on hand, just in case things go to 11. But on the flip side of that, I also have to have a conversation with myself about how much stuff am I willing to bring with me into a hotel room where the only thing between me and the maid cleaning me out from a $4,000 set of night vision goggles is the do not disturb tag on the front door. And that's a really fair, honest assessment of the situation. Is like, I can lock the stuff up in my vehicle, which does not give me a warm fuzzy while I'm at work. Or I could lock it up in my vehicle while I'm out to dinner one evening with a bunch of people and it's sitting in a parking lot, and that doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling either. Or I lock it up in a
not responsible.
Or I lock it up in a hotel room, and I'm kind of in the same boat all the way around. So
mean, it's not like it's that hard to spoof those hotel room locks anyway.
Yeah. So it's
especially the key card locks.
So it's one of those situations where it's like the answer is not bring nothing. That's dumb. The answer is not bring so much stuff of such and such a value that I'd be really annoyed if it disappeared. And the answer is not. The answer has to be to what to bring with me for my own purposes, for my own peace of mind in case things get weird. The answer has to be like, what am I willing to lose, and what precautions are reasonable to take to prevent it from getting lost?
Well, heck, look at Trek's situation. What are you willing to lose in a hotel fire?
Yep.
I mean, these things happen sometimes. Happen to Trek. You know, me and my in-laws were down in Tennessee. There was a very real possible chance of our Airbnb or whatever the hell it is we were staying at.
Yeah.
The cabin of burning down in a wildfire. I brought stuff I could stand losing.
Yeah.
So,
but before we get into all that, let's just reorder these things. No, sure. I don't want to reorder them. I had them in the order I had them for a reason. So the first thing I have to go over, and I used to go through this exact same situation whenever I'd go to prepper camp in years past by myself. It's getting the home front ready. So like my thing is like the first thing I'm going to do, and I started doing it this morning. I'll be doing it most of today and tomorrow. Today's Friday for the audience, Friday the 16th. It's the day after we just streamed to y'all and Facebook and YouTube nuked us, and we're here again. But anyway,
it's fine.
So like I'm going to be spending a bit of time the next couple of days catching up on all the household chores, trying to get like everything in the house clean, all the dishes done, all the laundry done. I'm going to roast 2 batches of coffee, so Gillian's got plenty of coffee on hand. My goal for the next 2 days, mostly while she's away, because like she's dealing with some stuff with her family and she's at work right now, which is why we're doing this. But anytime I'm not spending time with her, I intend to be kicking my ass to try to get things done here. So I'm leaving the least amount of work for her to do. So that the only thing she has to worry about is feed herself, feed my child, don't burn the house down.
A good bonus.
Yeah. And she understand, like Gillian is a very capable woman. I have full faith in her ability to manage a household by herself. I have full faith in her ability to handle stuff.
But she's losing half of the adult labor in the house.
And the bigger problem is, at least in this household, is like because of weaponized ADHD and a variety of other things. Like I do a ton in this house and away from this house. I'm always busy. I don't like sitting around. I'm constantly working on stuff. So it's not just she's losing half the labor, but she's losing the half of the labor that traditionally is like, hey, babe, you've had a hard day at work. You sit down. I'll take care of this. That's gone. That's going to be gone for a week. So she's going to feel that impact immediately. And my goal is to give her at least, so many days of, we got clothes, we got food, we got coffee, we're fine. I'm trying to remove things I'm trying to not let things become an immediate problem for her.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I mean, none of us want to be a burden on our spouse, especially when we're away from home.
Yeah.
Because, you don't like being away from home anyway without your family. So why would you want that guilt on top of it? If you got the time, you might as well get it done ahead of time.
Yeah.
Just makes everybody's life easier.
The other thing
especially like, I doubt your wife is as into roasting coffee as you are.
She does not roast the coffee in this house.
Right. So that's a task that not that she couldn't do it, but she doesn't.
Well, and you know how I feel about like specializing within a household. Like, I don't need to know everything you know how to do. You know how to do it.
Yeah.
I know how to do it enough to get by. And that's as good as it needs to be. So my time is better spent doing things I'm really good at than trying to get really good at things you're really good at. And that's the way me and Gillian look at things. Does she understand the mechanics of how to roast coffee? Sure, she sat out there with me to do it, but she hasn't invested the hours and
it's a skill.
And burnt 3-4 pounds of beans trying to figure out the timing and everything. She hasn't invested the time into figuring out how to roast coffee to the degree I have. And why would she? She's got me. So my goal is I roast 285 grams, which is the only time I'm ever going to measure anything in the metric system. My bad. But
just convert it to grains.
No. But anyway, 285 grams in a batch. That's for all of us drinking coffee together, and with me being gone, I won't be. Half the coffee consumption will disappear with me gone. So I'm going to roast 2 batches at 285 grains each, and there will still be coffee waiting on me when I get home. So that will handle that.
Then you can enjoy a cup of coffee come Saturday morning without a hassle.
Yeah, I stopped by the credit union today and snatched $500 of emergency cash out of my savings account. That is in addition to the emergency cash that stays here at the house. And that was kind of part of what my thought, that was something I explained to my daughter, because even she asked me, like, why are you getting cash? And I said, well, I have cash at the house, and I always keep cash at the house.
Stays at the house.
Yep. And I told her, I'm like, when we would go on trips, I take that roll of bills, stick it in my luggage. And when we get home, if we didn't spend any, I put it away. And then if we did spend some, I go take it out of savings, replenish it, put it back. That is emergency cash. That is the debit cards don't work. We need gas. We need groceries cash. But on the road, it is get home cash. It is the debit cards don't work. I need gas. I need to be able to get home. I cannot in good faith drive 340 miles without emergency cash, nor can I in good faith not leave it here for my wife and daughter. So I went and got more. And
I think that's perfectly fair. I think that's a wise decision. I mean, if your entire family's coming with you, the emergency cash at home is pointless, so it might as well be with you.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a good idea to keep some in both places.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave the overwhelming majority of the firearms here, like all the emergency food, emergency water staying here. Gillian knows where all that stuff is. I really don't foresee her running into much trouble. I'm really trying to plan for like the things I'm not expecting to happen. And I've put my brother-in-law and my sister and both my parents on high alert to basically tell them, like, look, from this day to this day, I'm not going to be here, which means if that little lady or that little lady calls you, it's family time. I expect you to drop what you're doing and run to their rescue, like I would if I were in y'all's position.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I feel like I am in the process of doing everything I reasonably can do to make sure that my family, it's not even like make sure they survive, because they're going to be fine. But it's more of a
make sure they're comfortable.
Yeah. I want them to be comfortable. I don't want them to have to worry. I don't want them to be in a situation where it's like, oh crap, what do we do? Phil's not here. It's like, no, I'm trying to get as much of that dealt with today and tomorrow, so that Monday morning when I point my little nose north, everything else is pretty well handled. And part of that is also going to be the fact that, fortunately, I've been to this place several times. This is where we deployed back in 2016 when that F3 tornado wiped out my workplace.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And it's also like in the same general area as like some in-laws I have that live up that way. My wife's twin sister and her family. I know the area. I could literally drive straight there without a map. So if I didn't, I'd have a map. I'd have some printed out directions. I wouldn't be depending on my cell phone. I know the route. I know where I'm going to go. I know what detour I'm going to take to get around Jackson, Mississippi, because God forbid I don't want to drive through that freaking hellhole. I know where I'm going to stop. I know where I know this route. I've done this before. I have no concerns about that. I do need to make a judgment call on party favors to bring. And I'm kind of halfway back and forth between taking the Scorpion or possibly taking like my night vision AR, break that in half so it'll fit down into, my little gym bag that I use for kind of, I don't want to call it
quiet.
Yeah, quiet carry. Like I don't, if I've got a couple of like very traditional like gun bags, and those only go to the range.
Me too. Yeah, exactly. Those go to and from the range only.
Yeah, and I literally have a very nondescript gym bag, and I tell you what, I can lock and I can drop my chest rig and my AR like broken in half down into there. And you never know. I could drop my Scorpion and the Merce over there with all the extra mags and the IFAK and everything. Drop that in there and still have room for other stuff. I will probably wind up packing one or the other, and I'm back and forth on which to bring. And I'll probably fill up the rest of the space, honestly, with like pouches of Mountain House. I talked to you yesterday about bringing a 5-gallon water can and bike chaining it into the bed of the truck just to make sure it doesn't grow legs and walk off, so that I've got 5 gallons of water. I've got some emergency food. But even as I say that, I question if that's even necessary, because like if I bring Mountain House, I have to bring a way to boil the water.
No, you don't. You can cold soak Mountain House. You just got to soak it for a few hours. Yeah, but it works.
Well, but the reason I'm talking myself out of that is because I already keep a fair amount of water in the truck. You're probably the Tacoma is not unique in this. A lot of trucks have like that storage area underneath the back seat.
Yeah, mine's full of tow cables and stuff. Yeah,
no, all that crap is in my toolbox in the bed. Everything that's underneath those seats is like, the jack and those tools and everything. And it's emergency roadside stuff. It's the jump box. But every single square inch is packed around all that stuff with extra water bottles, just little, 12-ounce water bottles.
Yeah. Something like that.
And then I've got 20-ounce Camelback brand, the BPA free water bottles. I've got those in all 4 of the doors because I got tired of always. I used to keep like just regular old disposable water bottles in the doors in case one of my pastors or my wife or daughter would get thirsty. There'd just be some water right there. And I stopped using disposable water bottles because I hate using disposable water bottles. So I got refillable ones. And whenever somebody takes a sip, I just say, okay, that one's got to go in the house. It's got to get cleaned and sanitized and refilled. And even if I'm dumping out a bunch of water, I don't care, because my thought process is, okay, well, my wife drank out of it today. If I happen to have my mom or somebody else in the car tomorrow and she drinks out of it, I don't want people cross-contaminating stuff. So I'm just going to...
You don't want to spread it, if somebody's sick or whatever.
Exactly. Well, that way I can comfortably tell somebody when they say, oh, whose water bottle is this? It's yours, because you're the only person that's drank out of it since it came out of the dishwasher. So it's more for the comfort of the next passenger to know you can get into that if you need to. But I've got a fair amount of water, and I keep a couple of mainstay rations in the truck all the time anyway. So I've got enough water and food to make it a couple of days. Just stays on board the truck at all times.
As much as I don't hate the idea of mainstay rations, them compared to a nice warm pouch of Mountain House, or even a nice cold pouch of Mountain House, if you feel a lot better mentally with the Mountain House than you do with the mainstay rations.
True, but I'm also looking at this from the perspective of the literal only reason I would open those up is if there is no other food available. If I'm in a situation where everywhere in the town I'm in, there is no food available, Phil is done with this work trip and I am driving home because there's no freaking food.
That's true.
So that's really what I'm looking
at. I mean, I have been known to crack into a pouch of Mountain House just because I don't feel like eating what restaurant is open. That's
the good thing about having mainstay rations, though, is that you will find find the motivation to go find something to eat. But I guess I don't really need to bring food and water. I've already got
probably not more than what you already have.
Yeah, because I have enough to make it a couple of days. And like you and I were talking about earlier, like I'm going to gas up every time I hit a half tank. As soon as I pull into town, I'm going to top off a full tank of fuel in that truck out there. If I'm gentle with the gas pedal, will get me about 400 miles. It's 340 miles. So like, even if I can't
get you within striking distance of home, worst case.
Even if I can't get all the way home, I can get close enough to either walk the rest of it out, or have my parents, or have my brother-in-law, or my wife, somebody can come pick me up, say, hey, I'm conked down the side of the road.
Right, exactly. And I think that you do have to put some, I'm going to call it sane limits on yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can get kind of carried away. I mean, you've got a pretty good medical kit in your truck from everything we've talked about. You've got your a little bit of an EDC medical kit that you're going to be tossing in your suitcase.
To be fair, I've got 2 medical kits in the truck. I've got the blowout kit that's up on the roof, and that's like the oh shit I'm going to die kit. And then I've got the boo-boo kit in the bag behind the back seat that's like Band-Aids and Tylenol and Benadryl and ibuprofen and Cobang and just it's boo-boo stuff. And then I've got a smaller boo-boo kit in my carry-on that stays in my overnight bag. So like part of what I'm butting up against, Nick, is that my normal every day I am just driving to work. I have the boo kit and I have the blowout kit. When I go on a trip where I expect to be gone overnight, I bring my overnight bag. That's toiletries, hygiene, it's a bar soap. Because I refuse to go anywhere without my own bar of soap. I've been in places way too many times where they give you this tiny little wafer of shit, and I am trying to wash my body.
And that soap is generally crap anyway.
Yeah. I mean, the soap I bring on trips is Dial, so it's not exactly like, it's not nice, but it'll get the job done. And the reason I bring Dial...
It's reliable.
Well, but...
And if you throw it away, who cares?
Exactly. So, I mean, my normal level of, I'm going to go out of town, I bring these things, is already, I'm going to have emergency food, I'm going to have emergency water, I'm going to have medical stuff. I'm going to have
your daily care.
I'm going to have a tire inflator because it lives in the truck. Yeah. I'm going to have a patch kit because it lives in the truck and never comes out. I'm going to have a jump box. It lives in the truck. You see a theme developing here. And I have to remind myself of that, like, the question of what to bring is, what do you feel like you need that isn't already on board or isn't already going to be packed, because that's just what you do every single time. Right. And the only answer there is that the things I don't usually bring in the truck, because it involves leaving in a parking lot outside my workplace, is I don't usually bring my firearm. That will have to happen. At this point, it is more a question of, like, do I just pack a handgun and like a couple of spare mags? Do I bring the Scorpion? Do I go grab the AR? Because at that point, it's all going in the gym bag anyway. It doesn't matter if it's the AR or the Scorpion. It's just a question of, do I want commonality of ammo? Everything's going to run off 9mm, or do I really want to bring 5.56? Either way, do I really expect to have to need it? No. I suspect it's going to sit. It's just going to sit.
If I suspected I was going to need that much hardware, I wouldn't be going. That's if I had a choice.
And that, people kind of giggle when I put it that way, but like, that's kind of always been my point of view, is like, if the answer to the question is, I feel like I need some serious crap to go someplace, I don't need to go there that bad.
Or if you really need to go that bad, you're going with friends who are also in kit.
Yeah, and I'm also going in with like no worries in my heart or mind of, I don't know if I want to be seen with this. Like, no, if
we're being seen.
Yes, if it was a situation where like I had to go friggin' like get my wife or get my daughter, and I was going into a bad situation to get them, we roll. Yeah, I am coming in like I am about to invade Panama. Like, there is a 0% chance I'm worried about what this is going to look like, or, what if the hotel maid steals my gun? Because I'll be sleeping with the stupid thing at that point.
Yeah.
So this is more of I think what I usually bring is probably going to be okay. I'll pack the Scorpion. I'll pack the MERS. That gives me a 20-round mag and 3 30-round mags, and 2 mags for my carry gun, because that MERS also has two CZ75 compact, the 15-round mags loaded with hollow points, just stays in there all the time. I've got another IFAK in that bag. All my emergency roadside stuff is already there. I think I really just need to bring like my work backpack, my personal laptop, if I just feel like having something to foots with.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I go back and forth on that too, because it's just one more bag of crap to haul around. But my problem is, like, I am such a hermit on work trips. Like, I go work, and then I go back to the hotel room. And then
I never underestimate the entertainment value of it.
Yeah, and that's probably the
because you're going to have a few hours at night where you're by yourself.
I mean, depending, and that's kind of what I'm wrestling with. Is like I could wind up having to go out to dinner, having to go do, I don't know. Part of my hesitation is, Nick, is that what we're doing up there is the continuation of operations drill. So this is like a simulated, you can't go into the office because all hell is broken loose. In this case, creatively enough, thank you to our Coop director, who he and I have kind of become friendly because he realizes the stuff I'm into, and he's also kind of a low-key prepper and prior army.
Good.
Also has a beard. Yeah, there's a lot of commonalities there. But anyway, but the scenario he cooked up was like massive protests around government buildings, IEDs found under vehicles in the parking lot next door to our workplace. So they are suspending operations and we're deploying to the alternate work site till things cool off down here. Like that is the scenario we're operating under.
Interesting.
So it's one of those situations where like we're going up there to determine, are all of our systems and applications going to work as advertised, and we're going to be able to run full operations from up there once the staff gets there. The problem with that is we haven't run this exercise since before COVID. It's been 5 years. There's a lot.
Something's going to break.
There's a lot of stuff that has changed in the last 5 years. We have a lot of new applications online. We have a lot of things. I mean, hell, our entire data center has moved since then. There's so much that has changed, and there's so many things that could go wrong. There's every possibility I could go up there and be bored.
Nothing works.
Well, but there's every possibility I could go up there and be bored. Everything works fine. I get all my testing activities done in like 2 or 3 hours. I spend the next 2 days with my thumb in my freaking behind, bored because everything worked. And there's every likelihood that nothing will work, everything will blow up, everything will catch fire, and we will be troubleshooting crap with guys from DC and Kansas City literally all freaking day for the next 3 days. I don't know.
I would bring it with you just because I know myself, I do not handle being bored for 3 straight days well. Would not be good for me. I will get into some shenanigans. It's not good.
No offense, you would have sucked in the military.
I would have caused... Look, my grandpa is exactly like me, and at one point he stole machine guns during an exercise because he got bored.
You okay?
Because apparently when you're on a field op doing Op 4, apparently you can get away with just stealing the enemy's equipment.
Well, first of all, it's not referred to as stealing. It's referred to as tactical acquisitions.
Sure, he tactically acquired a truckload of machine guns.
Yes, because as Op 4, that is your job, is to be a miscreant.
Yep.
Which it sounds like he was.
Oh yeah, he definitely was.
Also,
you would like him. You and him would get along pretty well. He drove trucks in the military, in the army, and he was over in Germany during the Cold War. He said apparently those deuce and a halves can get up to about 85, 86 mile an hour if you take the governors off and you tweak the engine a little bit.
Yeah, if you take the governor off and then you pinch the wastegate tube shut on the turbo.
Mm-hmm.
They
get going.
Not that I would know from personal experience, however, let's say that with an experienced light wheel mechanic who is willing to bend some rules, they can do things that they could do some things that AM General had no freaking idea they would do.
I am told on a mountain pass at true top speed, they are shockingly uncomfortable to drive.
Oh, dude, doing 70 miles an hour in a deuce and a half feels like being strapped to the front of the DeLorean in, Back to the Future. Like, you don't know if you're about to die. You don't know if you're about to go into orbit. You don't know what's about to happen. I mean, at a certain point, let's see here. I think the highest I ever read one of those engines was like 3,400 RPM, and at that engine speed, it sounds like the valves are about to tap dance on the hood. Like, it's
probably because they are.
Yeah, you just keep pushing and keep pushing. But anyway, this is why I told you on the last episode, like, if I ever had a legit piece of farm property, I'd get a deuce and a half just for the nostalgia, because
just to play.
Good God Almighty. That was a fun vehicle to rag out. You couldn't. I mean, you had to really seriously misuse and mistreat it to break it.
You do,
yeah. But I mean, you could slap the thing upside the head like a biker chick, and it would just take it and grin and say, "You hit like a punk."
There's a machine shop near me that has one of the multi-fuel deuce and a halves that they've rigged up for their company truck. It's just
stupid.
It's atrocious. It is atrocious. And they painted it up in the silliest possible way. Oh. If I remember, I'll grab a picture next time they drop.
What the hell else are you supposed to do with a deuce and a half? Make it a bigger spectacle than it already is.
It's a spectacle. I'll give them that.
Yeah. So I guess to kind of round this out, like, I feel like the things I just normally bring on trips are going to serve me very well. I am doing everything humanly possible to like leave my wife and daughter in the best possible position while I'm gone. I
Right.
don't want them to have to struggle, and I don't want them to have to worry about this didn't get done or that didn't get done. Like at this point, my if I have any concerns, it's for those like black swan events I can't predict. You know what I'm saying? Like there
Right.
is this thing with her mother that is still kind of hanging over the family, that's still in motion, that's still just
Yeah.
things are still happening with that.
Always is with
And I
family.
would feel much better if I didn't have to like punch out of the cockpit and leave her here while she deals with that by herself. Because I know if things go to 11, those are the type of situations I'd be there to comfort her. Or I'd be there to
Right.
backfill her, be like, hey, I got Piper, you get out of here, I'll see you tomorrow. Like I'm not gonna be here to do those things. And
Well, fortunately, she's got your family that's in the area to fall back on.
true, but it's not me.
It's not the same. I fully understand that, but it's the realities of life. Sometimes you have to risk that.
Yeah. And other than that, like the other thing that is it's always a serious concern of mine. But it's just like I said, it's the black swan event, dude. What if there's a car accident? What if somebody falls and breaks an arm? What if something happens? And even if it's nothing I could have prevented, I could have at least been here and not 5 hours away when it happened. I could have been here to help deal with the fallout of it. I mean,
Sure.
those are the things that are going to worry me literally until the minute I get back home.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I mean, even when I'm with my wife on vacation, I have worries like that. Like, my house got a lot of trees around it. Sometimes we get storms when I'm gone. Am I going to have a roof when I get back? Is my house going to be flooded? You know, eh, I think you're always going to have those concerns, but you're doing everything you can to set yourself and her up for success. Black swan events, by their definition, cannot be predicted or mitigated.
I know. Even as I say it, I know that's the definition of a black
Mm-hmm.
swan event is you can't predict it. But those are,
Mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm saying is like as I go through the motions this weekend of getting ready to be gone for a week, just like we're doing right here. Like
Mm-hmm.
originally I was going to say like, yeah, let's do the stream. I'll be sitting in the hotel. I'll be bored anyway. It won't be a big deal. And then I was like, no, let's go ahead and get one more thing off my plate now so that
Yeah.
it
One
doesn't.
less worry to
Yeah,
have.
and that's a lot of what I'm going to be doing for the next 48 to 72 hours is just
Mm-hmm.
every little thing I can get off my plate. Let's get it off the plate. Let's not leave it for later. Let's not let it be oh shit, I should have done this, a couple of days ago. Let's just burn myself down, put in some extra work. I got to schedule washing my car and vacuum it at some point this weekend. I got a list. I have a laundry list of things to do, starting with the laundry that is turning on the other side of this wall.
There you go.
But I feel like my goal right now is to prepare the family for us to be divided, which is not something we normally do because
Sure.
we're a very tight knit family. We're usually together. The furthest away the furthest apart we usually are is when Gilly and I are like out running errands and Piper's here at the house, and we're 10 minutes away most of the time. So
Yeah, it's understandable to have some reticence about that because you're used to being there all the time. But you know what? Odds are it's probably going to be just fine.
probably will be.
And you've got her set up for success as well as you can. You got the insurance, you got the insurance and the food, the spare emergency cash, you got family and friends around. Not much more you can do other than drag her with you, make her take time off work.
Yeah. Well, that was the other conversation that was had was that if this was happening next week when she's off school for the summer,
Yeah, just come
yeah,
with.
then her and my daughter would have just packed up and come with me. I mean, they can hang out in the hotel,
Yeah, have a
go
mini
bum
vacation.
around Shreveport, do whatever. But
Oh yeah, they'll find something to do.
yeah. But as it stands, this is kind of looking like this is the way it's going to be.
Yeah. Well, enjoy it, I guess.
Hmm.
Break the network.
Thanks, Nick. I mean that is our goal is to break. If something's going to break, let it break right now. But
Yeah, best to break it in testing for sure.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just waiting to see what a bucket of fun this is going to be.
Well, worst case, you could always quit.
I like money.
Don't we all?
And if you know where that quote is from, we can be friends. And if you don't, then your childhood was awful.
Yes, it was.
All right. I have no earthly idea what we're going to talk about. I was about to say next week, but it's not next week. It's like in 2 weeks.
Next week.
Next week. We'll figure out something. We have lots of...
Who knows? Maybe the government will do some silliness and we'll have a new topic.
Why do you say that like it's a maybe? Like that's all the government does is silliness.
It's more of if they do silliness that's worth us talking about instead of just general silliness.
Oh, I see. So there's like a certain threshold for silliness that arouses our attention.
Right. Like the government forcing the pipeline workers to sweep the road every 3 hours that they cross with their machinery where they're putting in that gas pipeline from us, shutting down traffic for a half hour. That's just your normal generic silliness.
You know, Nick, I try really hard to like stick to being a happy little libertarian, and every now and then you say something that just makes me think, nah, screw it, anarchy's the way, burn it all to the ground.
I tell you, man, sometimes I wonder. But you know what? I like being able to call the cops sometimes. Granted, the only times I've ever had to call them, they showed up 45 minutes late. Still, it was nice they showed up. Didn't do any good.
That might be the topic for next week.
Sure.
Governmental...
What to do when the cops are 45 minutes late?
I was thinking governmental silliness, but, you know.
Well, we could do that.
I don't know.
Oh, you know what's interesting? I meant to mention today, and I almost lost it. Apparently, they're finding some additional pieces of electronics in solar panels coming from China that can function as a kill switch.
Oh, boy.
Which makes me wonder about that power outage on the Iberian Peninsula that seems to have come from their solar fields.
First of all, this is Phil's shocked face.
Yes.
And second of all, Jackeries are built in California. Winning!
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, God almighty. How bad is that I'd rather buy something from the Fruit Loops in California than I would from the Fruit Loops in China?
They got some smart tech folks in California, man. You got to give them that.
So now you just make me wonder if my hollow sun on my shotgun is going to blink out of existence when the CCP gets ready to move against us.
Probably not. Otherwise, they'd already be doing it against the Ukrainians. Would be my guess.
Excellent point.
Hollow sun is now a combat-proven optic.
Jesus Christ in heaven.
Well, it is. I mean,
I'm going to start taking notes because apparently I think we just figured out a whole bunch of stuff to talk about.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Matter of fact, so going out the door. Y'all are watching this today, whenever today is that this gets scheduled for, but we're not here, but you're welcome to leave your comments. You're welcome to leave reviews on the podcast. You're welcome to harass us on social media. I love all that. I love hearing from y'all. Mm-hmm. But most of all, I look forward to the opportunity to make Nick shake his head in disgust at something one of you has visited upon us. It happens every now and then. It's always a lot of fun.
It's a hard bar to hit, man. But people will hit it.
Don't make me call Eddie. Good night, y'all. Be good.
Good night, everybody.